Welcome everyone to welcome to the Curriculum Partners Remote Learning Support. I'm Teresa Lopatrone. I'm with the ELL. We have Steph Wood and Angela Cote. So do you want me to do this, Ange?
If you don't mind, yeah.
Sure. So this picture I took on Friday at Canatera Beach. Personally making a land acknowledgement, you're taking part in an act of reconciliation, honoring the land and Indigenous heritage. We acknowledge that the land on which we are connecting through is part of the traditional territory of the Chippewa, Ottawa, Potawatomi, and Delaware nations. So we're going to see if anyone has any questions, maybe some successes and some challenges you're facing over this time. And we're going to talk about assessment and evaluation.
We really want this session to be about what you need and questions you have. So please feel free to unmute your mic and ask questions. You can drop questions in the chat. However, we can help you while we are teaching remotely.
Anybody have any questions or successes or challenges they want to share or come off mic, or like Steph said, put it in the chat? Don't all go at once here.
I have a question.
All right, Ashley.
I don't know if this is a silly question or not. I'm doing an LTO currently, and I am a prep coverage teacher, and I've got a few classes. I teach science and language, and for 2 different grades in some kindergarten gym, FDK gym. My question for online learning is, I'm trying to figure out, well, basically how to assess and how to evaluate work that's coming in, because is it theirs or is it the parent that's trying to help their child succeed? Because I've already got a lot of calls, messages on things that I said, this is an assessment, and parents asking, they don't know what to do, or they don't know, and trying to help them out, but they're almost looking for, no, can you help us get the answer? Like, give me the answer and I can help them get to it. I'm like, no, that's not. So that's kind of my question that I'm struggling with.
And definitely not a silly question. I think that's very common when we're in other people's homes. Again, one thing I've heard is maybe with the next step is where you can encourage that it be handed in by the student. So maybe or give suggestions on how that can be assessed by the student. Anybody else have any ideas, Steph or Ange, that we talked about this actually yesterday? Girls.
Well, we are going to handle some ideas and thoughts around assessment and evaluation, like as part of the presentation. So do we want to go forward with that? Or do we want to come
totally
back?
Fine. That's good.
Because we will cover it for sure.
Okay,
we have
perfect.
it as part of the plan. Yes.
That's the big question that I had. So
yeah,
the topic that's on everyone's mind. So we thought we would definitely dedicate some time for that conversation. But if there's other things that people wanted to bring up to the group before we go down that road.
If there's any tech questions, or if you have any questions about any of the digital tools that you've seen, we can definitely help with those as well. There's a question from the chat as well about assessing intermediate PE who are keeping their cameras and mics off, which is definitely a challenge. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I have a question if possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last year, when the Minister of Education said that some of the prep subjects weren't as important as language and math, like the focus being language and math, I'm finding this year that a lot of my older students as well, they are choosing not to submit anything. And this is, it's only been going on for a few weeks now. And I'm not sure if it's because they're focusing on other subjects, because I don't teach those 2 meatier subjects, but I'm not getting work from a lot of students, and I find it very frustrating because I'm still showing up, I'm still programming, and then when report card time comes, maybe for term 2, there's going to be a huge chunk that they haven't completed anything.
Are they completing work for the classroom teacher?
Some of them, not all though.
Okay, because I do hear it from teachers that they are struggling to get tasks completed.
Mm-hmm. And then that mental health piece too, you know, as soon as they start talking about things like that, then you think, okay, well, in the grand scheme of things, is dance really that important if their mental health is suffering? You know, I don't want to push them on it either, because I don't know what to do. And I have level 4+ students that are continuing to do level 4+ work. And then when things are, you know, out in the wash at the end, that level 4+ student will always be that level 4+ student. But then to sort of hand out awards at the end of the year in grade 8, you know, and you kind of try to spread things around, and that one level 4+ student has continuously always done their work and gone above and beyond, you know, and then they only get one thing or two things when they probably could have just cleaned house. I don't know. Is that where we're going? I really don't know.
I wish we had an answer for you, Tina. It's looking like in the chat box, a lot of people are struggling with this, getting work submitted, or families feeling overwhelmed with the amount of work. So Tina, I think the fact that you acknowledge like trying to be responsive to the family and student needs, I think your mind's in the right spot, and you're trying to find that right balance for the families. And I mean, this is new for all of us. If there's somebody else out there that maybe has a suggestion or an idea to share with the group, that would be great.
Okay.
And maybe focusing on big ideas, and maybe could be an option as well, because it is, I mean, as we all see, remote is a lot more time consuming. So with that mental health piece too, maybe the kids are getting to that point and unfortunately not handing in their work. That could be an option. Maybe less is more. But again, when you're dealing with so many classes, it can be difficult.
I take an opportunity every lesson, or maybe once or twice in my preps, to do a bit of a showcase of their work, the ones that have been submitting theirs. And what I try to encourage at one lesson at the beginning of it all is to demonstrate how to take photos, and try to check out who's the students that aren't able to take photos or videos of their work. Phys ed's particularly the one where you go, okay, take a video of your dance, or take a video of your running an obstacle course outside. Can you take a video of you throwing a ball with your brother or dad? Those are sometimes a little hard, but as you try to encourage how important that video submission and the reward they get, that, hey, we'll take 5 minutes today, do a little video clips of everybody who submitted their works, and then they go, oh, I missed I'm going to do that next time. And you start to see those kids start going, Mr. Crawford, you didn't show my video yesterday. And I went, oh, I'm sorry, Alexander, you submitted that post the chance, but now that you have, and now that you asked me, we'll add it to the next show. And I started seeing more and more, but yes, it is a challenge, and you might not end up with full success. So that's one factor that will help.
Thanks,
That's a great tip.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, I teach the little guys. I teach at kindergarten and grade 1, but I had a grade 8 student talk to me today about it, and she said the same thing. They keep all their cameras off. They could do workout videos and stuff like that. But she said last year, a teacher did do that, where they had to do a TikTok video of a dance, I believe it was, and for dance class or phys ed. And she said that was good. She says every 13-year-old girl is into TikTok right now. So she said that would be better than trying to expect them to do it live in front of everybody.
That's another great tip.
I have tried using choice boards. But I'm struggling with, again, like how much I don't want to overload the families. I'm doing 0.5 prep as well, like mostly music with some drama and arts for the little ones. So I'm trying to, I don't want to overload the parents. Like really, I'm just like, God, kids, get outside and go play. I don't want you sitting in front of a screen for 30 minutes while I do something that TVO Art Squad can do much better. So I don't want parents to think that I'm leaving their kids behind, that I don't care, but I also feel the same. I'm like, how, if showing up for 20 minutes of music doesn't fit into your day and you'd rather be out at the park or you're working on something else, that's cool too. Here's a choice board I'm struggling with, I don't want to bombard families and kids, but I also don't want to just be like, well, what I do doesn't matter also as well. So I put the choice board out and I said to my like kids today, I'm like, okay, well, I've seen like, I put the choice board out, but only 2 people have submitted. And I was like, help me guys, help me be, what do I need to do? Help me be a good teacher. What do you guys want? And this is in a 6th, 7th class, you know, and one of the kids was like, well, can you make it like kindergarten? You know, and I thought, okay, I'll take that as a suggestion. And I said, do you guys have too much work? Is that one of the things that you have too much math and language, but by the time it comes to this, it, you know, and that was a yes from some of them. And so I'm struggling. The choice board has been good because I guess it makes me feel like I have provided something, but I also, I wonder whether it's just another thing that gets lost. It's another link and it's another thing that gets lost and it's another pain in the ass, forgive my language, for the people at home. So that's my struggle. Although I think it is good because the kids have gone through it and it's something that they can work on their own. And there's, you know, like 6 different choices, but again, I think I'm having that same struggle with how much do you lay on people and then how much do you expect to get back?
Yeah, I agree with you too. And the other thing that I'm finding is that putting in this link so that they can come to my classroom, like we were trying to make it as user-friendly as we were, as we tried back from March until June for parents, because this was all brand new to them. And now where they have to go, and especially going in through Seesaw and then clicking and finding the information and going to that link and then calling up the activities and stuff like that. I'm just finding for my younger guys, especially using Seesaw, that's a lot of clicking and that the parents are getting frustrated as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, this has only been my first week putting in my own links. I was usually using the Google Classroom Teachers Classroom link. And I would much prefer to be in the classroom for an extra 10 minutes every single day, having that opportunity with my students to teach them and to answer questions and just be there for support if they need something, because most of them do, than having to go in and then go and set up a new link someplace else and then going to the next classroom and setting up a new link. Like I don't know, I find that that's kind of tedious, a waste of time, when I would much rather just be in front of my own students.
Tina, I think you raised some good points. And just from our experience, what we've heard at the virtual school is like that first month, at least for them in September, it was all tech all the time. That's what they dealt with. There wasn't a whole lot of instruction happening. It was a lot of tech troubleshooting. So I think the pains you guys are feeling are normal and to be expected. And like our students, the parents will eventually figure out how to manage all of those links and the Seesaw, and it's the growing pains right now. I mean, hopefully we're not here forever, right? But if we are here for any more amount of time, like things will get easier. And I know that maybe it doesn't sound like much to you right now, but from what I've heard from
that's what we need to hear, Angela. That's amazing. That's what we need to hear like every day.
It will get better. Devin, speak up here. Devin's lived this. I know.
Everybody else
did get better. I can say one thing. I'm viewed very as the techie sometimes because of my age or some gender and some video games and stuff like that. And so I have a knack for tech, but I watched some people that I witnessed that were baffled with my previous knowledge and how quickly they got to that. It's obviously a survival drive that you're there, we're teachers, we care for these students, and then suddenly you'll click with one troubleshoot. You'll hit a problem, you'll troubleshoot it once with an iPad, let's say, and then you're the pro of that trouble. So when that bumps into with another student, you're like, I know what to do, and you'll help them right through it. And also if you're a homeroom teacher, that is nice. With the 30 students, they end up fixing the problems and they're good. As us prep teachers or not, we have an abundance of students. And so that growth might, in our positions, might feel a little longer because as we wait, as homeroom teachers start to settle their students into the tech world, we'll be there. And I think that you have the right idea of not going in overwhelming. So I would say, take it one step at a time, introduce one kind of way to do activities, and not every day has to be different. As much as that is cool and exciting to have a new day, it's also, like you mentioned, overwhelming. So one thing that I've now, as an example, I've developed Duolingo for my French. I was a little hesitant on it at first, but they've seen like their security has gone much higher. And Duolingo for schools, make sure you're using that. Duolingo for schools, and I've developed that program, made their accounts, swept them out there, and they're very, very happy. The parents are very content to have something that is an asynchronous activity. So when we're done my little 20-minute to 30-minute lesson, they go off for 10 minutes for asynchronous. They go to their program, their platform, and they gotten used to it. That's what we've been working on getting used to in our French FSL courses, while integrating what is the curriculum subject at that time. So for instance, right now we're just kind of going over colors and body parts. And so what we would emphasize is in Duolingo, those topics, but we're only focusing on Duolingo right now. And if you're just trying to get them onto Seesaw or Google Classroom, focus on that now, because we won't get anywhere further without getting those first fundamental steps done. That's my point there.
I think that's some really good wisdom, Devin. Like, take it slowly and just
Yeah.
master one tool at a time. Because I'm with you, like you're on Twitter or wherever, and you're seeing all these cool things happening, and you're like, I want to try them all. And you get overwhelmed, and the families get overwhelmed too. So I think that's really good advice. Just pick whatever your tool is and stick with it until it's mastered, and then maybe try something new.
You all have specialties, and that's what mine was an example. You're going to find your specialty, what you find is your talent, music, the tech, or arts, and integrate that, and you're going to thrive. One line, we're not here to survive, we're here to thrive on the online world. It's cheesy.
That feels like so much pressure. Are you kidding me? I'm not surviving stage yet.
I think they go hand in hand. We're surviving while thriving. We don't even know that we're thriving.
I love your positive attitude.
I'm gonna mute myself now. Keep it up.
No, I'm soaking it up. I'm hoping to get inspired.
Keep the questions rolling.
I'm clearly on survival mode.
And that
Yeah,
is
we're all
totally
there.
okay.
Yes. And that's
Totally
okay.
okay. This is hard. We are changing everything that we do entirely the way that we do it. And it's like, you have to work around the roadblocks that pop up.
Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah.
And so you're constantly trying to figure out new ways to do things that work in these platforms, while you're also navigating the fact that some of your children are on Seesaw, some of your children are in Google Classroom, some of the homeroom teachers have more background in Google Classroom or Seesaw and are also navigating those things. So like there's a lot of pieces here, so you need to be gentle with yourself and remember that we're doing the best we can with what we have right now.
Thanks, Steph. That's good advice. No, I had to remind myself that too. I was like, wait, I'm not in a classroom. This isn't normal. This isn't. And I think one thing that I tend to, because of my style of teaching, I'll have like, okay, this is an expectation.
I think we lost you, Tina.
Uh-oh.
I think
Becky.
that was Becky talking.
That was Becky, yeah.
She seems to be completely gone now.
Oh,
Right out
poops.
of the meeting.
Well,
Like
the tech, oh, there she is.
Hello.
Yeah, you cut out, Beck.
Yeah, I know my internet's been sketchy all day too, which has been a pain in the.
Well, yeah, we all feel that with the tech piece anyway.
Gosh, seriously. I don't even know what I was going to say. I can't remember. Probably doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I can't remember.
Megan?
So Becky Beach, I just wanted to remind you that you brought a DJ from England into your class.
Yeah.
You didn't get it. Okay, yeah, that's a success. You're
So
right.
that's
You're
a
right.
huge success and a first time attempt at something new. And I'm really glad I got to watch you learning that.
I did rock that. You're right. You're right.
And
That was cool.
I just wanted to thank Angela for offering to come to my class when I had a little panicky moment on Monday, because I had a great 2 weeks with the kids being involved and being on class and being face-to-face. And it was so different from the first lockdown. And it was just feeling so fun and so great. And then Monday happened and all the mics stayed off and no speaking was happening in my class. And it just made me go, oh no, fail. And Angela offered to come to class to watch me. And I started to write you an email in response to that, Angela. Like my thought was, after a car wreck of a class like that, you are not welcome to come and watch. But since then I've kind of let it go a little bit. And I'm just, thinking about more things. And like you said, Becky, like asking the kids, like what's going to help in this situation? What's going to get us more involved? And are you more comfortable with this idea, that idea? So what's going to work for you? So I don't know, that flexibility piece is definitely maybe our best tool at this point, right?
Yeah. And I don't want to chase kids. Again, someone was saying about the mental health piece. I don't want to make anybody feel pressured. I just don't want to make them feel like alone, hanging either. Right? Which is probably just more my own
balance, right? It's that balance. We're all trying to find that balance.
Yeah. And
you're keeping them in mind. So that's the best thing you can do. You're thinking about it, right?
I'm like,
and we all are. Yeah. That's the important piece though. Like keep them in mind. And, that's why it's a different world right now. Like we can all have all this experience in teaching, but online teaching, we don't have as much experience.
Yeah. And
it is all first-year teachers.
All first-year teachers, right? And this remote learning.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing to remember too. I said the other day, I'm like, I feel like I'm in teachers college again.
Yeah.
And so
new. Brand new for everybody, students alike.
I think like you said, you keep putting them out, you keep reaching out to them. They know you're there for them when they're ready for it, right? And you're being responsive to their needs at this time. Because like you said, families are overwhelmed. Like everyone's working from home and managing school, and it's a lot going on. So I think you are being responsive, and they do know you're there because you do keep reaching out.
I had a kid today.
You are a wonderful teacher.
Kid was like, "Don't stress, Miss Beach." I kept dropping out of the link, and I'm like, "I'm trying to get to you guys." I'm like, "Okay, thank you, 5-year-old, for setting me straight."
Shannon, I think you had your hand up. Did you have something to add?
No,
did you say Shannon?
Lowered my hand yet, or lowered my hand.
I like what you put in the chat, Steph. Do you want to talk about it? About having a Google form? Yeah.
I was just thinking, because that way they don't have to technically be on the computer and you're not watching them. But say you do like a fitness circuit instead of the phys ed, whatever you're working on in your phys ed class. So the students would monitor how many times they could do each of like 5 or 8 activities in a minute with rest in between. For your older students, you could monitor heart rate, and you could use a Google form where they just submit their numbers for each of the activities. I mean, there's a certain amount of hoping they're being honest about it. I know that was one of the things that my stepson did in his phys ed class last fall, that he just submitted he had to submit how many minutes he walked on the treadmill and how far he walked, and then how many he could do of each activity. And I just thought maybe using a Google form, that might be a way to get some assessment.
I like that. And also it brings up integrity. So it practices their integrity and honesty, and you'll see parents maybe joining hand by hand with that.
I think Steph makes a good point there. A Google form that they fill in, and that if you're worried about assessment and evaluation, and you don't really have to be concerned about their truthfulness. If they submit their form for that day, no matter how many they could do of whatever, that's participating. And when you can't do skill-based things, or you can't, especially intermediate grades where you can't do skill-based things, or some of the games and sports that you would do, that just your mark's going to come from participation. And so whether it's submitting a Google form or just submitting a video, even if it's poor quality, you're assessing that they're participating.
That's a really good point. Thank you.
I changed the slide. I'm still presenting, right? You guys can see this? All right.
We can see it. Yeah.
All right. I kind of, because I have
You're
two
still good.
monitors going and I put it on the wrong monitor. Anyways, we wanted to bring this to your attention again. And I know this is nothing new to any of you, that triangulation of data. But I think it's really important to just think about what we are assessing and what we are evaluating. I know it's on everyone's mind right now with report cards looming. I know a lot of people will already be in a pretty good position, having gone into before the holidays. So that's great if you do have a lot of data already. But there's other people maybe are like, oh, I was planning on doing this after the break. And here we are now in remote learning. So we just thought we'd have a little conversation around what that assessment and evaluation might look like in remote learning and how that might differ from when you're in the classroom, and maybe leaning a little more heavily in some areas than we normally would. And I think we kind of started down this conversation, but just when you look at this graphic, I'm wondering, what are people thinking about assessment and evaluation?
Nothing. For observations, I know for me, I go into classrooms and on the meets, and with the ELL, I'm just observing some kids, and I do a lot of screenshots as well. So that's how I watch what they're doing, and I do screenshots. You can use, or if you're working with kids, you can use Jamboard or Whiteboard FI, participations in big groups, class discussion and activity, screen sharing while working, the kids hold up their paper. And all those things are ways of observing, not necessarily the traditional hand-in work. There's lots of ways to observe.
And I know that people are very concerned with how they know what the student knows as opposed to what the parent knows, and how much help the students are getting at home. And I was thinking about it in terms of, like, when I taught grade 4, we used to do a habitats project. Kids would choose an animal. But my assessment wasn't so much of the project that they created to share. It was more their conversation about the content knowledge that they had for that particular subject. So I was more interested in what they had learned through working on their project at home. And those conversations are valid forms of assessment. So you can use those one-on-one or small group conversations to collect data about what your students know in order to report on that knowledge and understanding.
Can I say something to that, Steph? Because I think that's an awesome point. And I've noticed it's just that their music knowledge might not come out during music time. And that's still, I had to struggle with that for a little bit, thinking well, if I sat and talked to this kid at lunch, and then we were talking about sound and, blah, blah, blah. And that those conversations, even if it's out of those designated minutes for that subject, are still valid. So it was just nice to hear you say that, because
well, we think about those cross-curricular things that we do, right? Like I just mentioned, you could graph all your data from math or from phys ed in math from your Google Forms, because it comes out as a spreadsheet, right? So you have all that data for them. But yes, taking that knowledge across subjects, 100%. And sometimes kids don't share all of what they know in that small little box of that, say, music class or drama class. That knowledge can come out absolutely in other places when ideas or information prompts them to think, oh yeah, I was thinking about that too when we were talking about it in that class or in French class.
Mm-hmm. I think with the conversations piece, trying to build those opportunities into your time, into your day, will be important for you to ensure that you're actually getting at what the student knows. That's been a reoccurring concern that we've heard, is like, the parent, how do we know, the parents are doing it? These kids are handing in perfect work, and that's maybe not what you would normally expect. And so trying to find opportunities for those conversations, instead of maybe product, instead of relying so much on product, I should say. There's still obviously a place, but is there something you could be, maybe be assigning for asynchronous work for your students while you work one-on-one or in a small group, and you can have those conversations? It might be like discussing a text they read, or like I'm thinking core French, when they listen to a video, what did they understand of it? It might just be an oral conversation you're having instead of a written response. And that would ensure that you're actually getting at the students' knowledge and not the parents.
And those tools, like Teresa said, like Jamboard or Whiteboard FI, where you can actually watch what's happening on the screen, can allow you to see what the students are doing. Say if you're working on music notation or those kind of things, you could be watching what the students are doing while they're doing it.
Notice Valerie put in the chat that she's using breakout rooms for those conversations with the students. So that's great. That's one way you can definitely do it. If you want to set up a separate meet or a breakout room, whatever if you're using the extension, or if that's too much, if that's overwhelming, allow the students to do some asynchronous work and just meet one-on-one or in small groups. Those are all valid pieces of data that you can use for reporting purposes.
And Devin put the Whiteboard FI in the chat as well.
Steph, did you want to talk about the narration tool on Seesaw? We talked about that as a form too, right?
Yeah, so because normally Teresa and I, a lot of our job is English language learners. So we're always trying to figure out a way to capture student knowledge when the literacy has not yet caught up with the oral language. So there's a couple of tools that we really like. In Seesaw, there's the mic feature, so they can record themselves talking over top of a photo, which is really nice, because then you can listen to them and you can maybe hear if mom and dad are prompting them with things, and then you know that they don't have that complete knowledge. Or if they're talking fairly comfortably about it, then you know that that knowledge of that content is solid. In terms of Google Classroom, students can attach a video to any of the assignments in Google Classroom. So they just have to add that as an attachment, and then they can shoot a video of themselves talking about it. So you could encourage them to talk about or use some of the new vocabulary you've learned in French class this week, talking about body parts or colors. Or you could have them discuss one of your science topics that you've been talking in your class. So taking advantage of those video and audio recording tools can be really helpful for you to have those little snippets from children that don't require you to have that one-on-one time. And it's something that they could work on during time when you've given them time to work.
And that fits into their schedule too. That's another way to be responsive to the families. There's a question in the chat. Any suggestions for what to do when parents are sitting beside their child throughout the entire online lesson, constantly intervening and whispering answers to their child? Anyone else encountered this so far? I know I've heard it. I've heard about it a few times now. Be super cheerful. Great advice, Megan. I guess it's. Go ahead, Teresa.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say it could be a time to support for teachers to teach the parents how to support their child, like whether and when it's assessment time, to maybe as nicely and clearly as you can, that maybe it's time this is time that we want to do some assessment. I mean, parents just want the best for their kids, not realizing giving them the answer is not really helping.
That is right. That's what it is that they're trying to help and they don't know how to help. So having a conversation with those parents and saying, these are some strategies you could use instead of just telling them the word when they're reading out loud, or giving them the answers before, to teach the parents how they can help at home. Shannon, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. So this was just in response to that, having that parent there. So I actually am mostly resource, but I do have a component of my day where I teach kindergarten art. And so I don't really, for me, if having that parent there hasn't really been a huge issue because I'm watching the kids working. I do my lessons two ways. I provide them two options. I provide a pre-recorded video session that they can go in, watch the video, my instructional videos, and then they go and they work on their own. So in that situation, I can't really see what's happening, how that work got completed. But I also provide a Google Meet session where the kids come in and we do a live art lesson and they work along with me. At that time, I can see the kids working. I'm asking them questions. They're giving me thumbs up to get or thumbs down to give their answers. And I'm asking them to show me their work. I think Teresa talked about that a little earlier. So, I mean, it's just that observation, and it's just I'm finding that using the live meet is helping me to do that assessment a little bit. It's been mostly, I would say, mostly successful doing that format because, I mean, I don't really know what I should be expecting, but I'm getting about a dozen kindergartens in each day to do for each lesson to do their art activities, which I think is pretty good given the amount of support they need to get started. But I don't know if that's really enough assessment information, just observing what they're doing, but it is what it is right now. Yeah. Thanks.
I think that's bang on, Shannon. Observations are a form of assessment and evaluation. So, and we're in unique times, so we have to maybe look at how we assess and evaluate. We need to look at that maybe a bit differently because of that. So that's great. Does anyone else have?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if anyone had anything else.
I'm just wondering, though, from an assessment observation point of view for our option 2 kids, that's where I'm kind of thinking, okay, well, who is doing this work? Who is submitting this? Not to mention it's being submitted at all hours of the evening, which is fine. But when you are seeing 200 kids in your school and you constantly have messages going off, then that becomes an issue in itself.
Devin, were you trying to speak? No, sorry. I thought I saw you. Yeah, I don't know what to
Absolutely.
say. That is
Absolutely.
a lot.
Yeah, when you're dealing with that many students, it is, how do you even keep that on record when it's remote? So you just got to do the best you can with what you've got. And I mean, that option 2 is an option, and we've just got to honor it for now, and just move forward with it. I mean, it is tricky.
Yeah, sorry, I was waiting there at the end just to say for Becky, but then I'm with Teresa there. It's something I think all of us witnessed in the first month, but then into the second month and third month as option 2, which is asynchronous learning, became more of an option. So the parents could then take on, I don't like saying it or feeling like it's sharing the responsibility, but that is what it is. It's in a way they are taking on a more responsible role to provide these evaluations for you, these observations that you are unable to access through their exemption. So I think it became a real tough thing of us trying to get as best as possible, but then we keep reiterating that it's not to slap your own back or get angry at yourself for these situations. This is the situation we're in. The exemption is in existence for flexibility and accommodation for parents and families in those situations that need it, and we know that they require it. So if anything, just know that you're doing your best, and they know that you're doing your best too, and that they aren't providing what you'll require. So in your evaluations and reports, you report on what you have, plain and simple. And if they have an argument towards you that you have not evaluated enough of my child's work, you ask them, where is the work? And then I imagine that you would be going into that situation with treading lightly and with your superiors and with people who will support you in that your stance, your position as a teacher, and what you have done is ultimately your best.
Stefan, I think, yeah, no, I just wanted to, I think you made a really good point there. When you're running into a situation like that, where you don't feel you have enough data, I think it's really important to bring your administrator into that conversation as soon as possible. And that way you can troubleshoot together how to best address it and support the family and what needs to be covered. So I think that's a really good point to bring up. Okay, I'm just looking at our time. And I do want to just bring your attention to report card sessions that will be coming up. Pam Gallant will be hosting, the first one is this Thursday on the 21st at 3:30. And then for the following, the two Thursdays following that as well, there's a 3-part session. And the information can be found on the elementary program blogspot. And the link, everything is there. So during this session, they're going to take a look at some of the features of Aspen that you need to complete Term 1 report cards and the communication of learning reports for our kindergartens. Discover new supports. So Pam's been busy making new little video clips and PDF documents with step-by-steps for you. So those will be highlighted. And of course, it's an opportunity to ask your questions about reporting requirements. So I encourage you to take a look at those sessions if you're able. And if you can't join one of the sessions, they will be recorded and posted. And then there's always the on-demand supports available as well. So I think that brings us to the end, unless someone had anything else to add.
And if you have any questions still, we can still take a few more questions.
Absolutely.
We don't want to keep you here, but at the same time,
yeah, we're available to stay.
We're here. You don't have to stay.
Option 2 learners, they're not that scary. They're great learners. I loved interacting with their submissions that they do give. And also make your lessons as fun as possible, because I started seeing a slippery slope. The more fun you make option 2, the more people start picking option
going into option 2.
Yeah. So ultimately encourage the lessons, the fact that you get to introduce and interact with the teachers and your friends when you do see them in class, so that they don't lose that grip and start seeing the privileges of option 2. Any questions on how to make those sessions fun? I'll sit around too as well. So.
That's great.
Thanks, Devin.
I just wanted to ask you.
Well, Megan, your mic went off.
Yes, it did. Sorry about that.
There you go.
I was just wondering if any of the French teachers here have tried either Planet French or Smash so far. I'm just wondering if anyone has experienced any of the troubleshooting and the problems that I'd love to avoid before I get started with any of them or either of them. So I'm just wondering if anyone's gone there and if they have any recommendations.
I've been using Smash actually quite a bit, probably for about a quarter to about a third of my FSL classes, 4 to 8. So if you want to chat about Smash, I have lots of advice. I've done lots of troubleshooting and sent a lot of emails, but it's working and it's working pretty well. So if you want to chat, we can set up a meeting so the other prep teachers don't have to listen to us talk about Smash.
I'd be happy to support you with that too, Megan. Anyone else using either of those wants to speak to them? Otherwise, I can. Planet French, as you know, as core French teachers, you do have a subscription to. There is an option to set up student accounts, which is a new feature. I honestly, I personally think just stick with your teacher account, show the video during your synchronous time, and then whatever your response and that's going to be, it'll just simplify things for you and your families.
Yes, and in this time, we're not sure how long we'll be sitting in the virtual world being face-to-face learners. So account building, like when I did the Duolingo, I did that really quick and hesitated on Smash and Planet as French because it's something that you might want to use as a resource, teacher resource, videos, and play them as presentations, share when on Seesaw and Google Classroom. But hopefully we're back and these accounts won't be necessary.
Hopefully, Devin.
Chin up, right.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming to join us today. I hope it was helpful for you and maybe hopefully help calm things down, a nice deep breath, let you know that, you know, your observations and your notes are all valid forms of assessment and that we're doing the best we can with what we have right now. So deep breath, we got this. We're already 2 weeks down. 2 weeks down? 3.
Almost.
Almost. Yeah.
Okay, it's a bit of a blur.
Not great.
Right.
But thank you again.
And we're here to support you.
I was just going to say that. Reach out to the three of us at any point throughout between sessions. We will do our best to help you out. And if we don't know the answers, we will find it for you. And the other thing is too, we're always looking for ideas for the sessions. Like what is on your mind? What are you thinking about? Drop one of us an email too, and we will. If you have a suggestion or something you'd like to discuss or what you would like to learn about, we will try our best to address that. So that would be
and to give you guys confidence on that, please do go through your supports message because like I'm showing in my confidence in the tech, it only got there from like Angela was my support during the virtual learning school and don't be shy.
No, we'd like to hear from you.
Go to these meetings, come to them because that's like I'm saying is giving me my confidence in this tech world. Is just put yourself, reach out. They're awesome. Keep it up.
Thanks, Devin.
Thanks, Devin.
Thank you, Devin,
for having the session. Sorry.
Thank you. No, it's great.
No, it's
Thanks
great.
for your input. It's great.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you later, everyone.